Welcome to the Sports Betting Preview, a pregame.com podcast. This is Marco D'Angelo along with Vegas Runner, and we're going to take a look at this week's Thursday night game, ESPN, North Carolina at Virginia Tech. As we always do, Vegas Runner, what's the line? Tell us what's happening.
All right. This line opened up at 16.5 and 44. And still sitting at 16.5, but the total's been bet down to 42 with two great defensive teams. It's not surprising. It is surprising when you look at a 16.5 point spread and the total of 42. What you're saying is, I mean, you could literally bet North Carolina and over and just root that they score 14 points and you can't lose both bets. You know, so, I mean, it is a tough game for an ESPN matchup, 16.5 point number.
And, you know, it's a situation you don't have very often. Actually, North Carolina's making their second Thursday night appearance in a row. They played last week, and the question here in this game, how does North Carolina react after last week's meltdown? I mean, they had total control. Florida State, I mean, what were they up, 18 points? And they just, you know, it was a horrible second half. Florida State came out and passed all over them in the second half, and Florida State ended up with 395 yards passing on a 33 of 40 performance from their quarterback. And I mean, wow. They pass well, Florida State, but not that well. My question is, what happened? Did Florida State find a hole that, you know, maybe now Virginia Tech can exploit too, or was just a one-game fluke?
Both of these teams are coming off terrible performances. I mean, North Carolina is a little worse because although they've been on Thursday night football before, that was their first home Thursday night football game. So it was huge for that school, and the way they, just melted down. You're right. How are they going to react? But on the flip side, Virginia Tech also going in playing Georgia Tech last week, they had won 5 straight games. And even though the final score says 28-23, when you look at the stat sheet, they got destroyed. I mean, they allowed 300 yards rushing. Georgia Tech held the ball for 38 minutes. 53% on third downs they were able to convert. So, I mean, they really manhandled Virginia Tech. I think the big advantage in this game is the rushing game for Virginia Tech. I mean, neither of these teams passed the ball well at all. North Carolina's 107th in the nation, and you got Virginia Tech 102 in the nation. So you're not going to see an air fest in this one. And I think it's going to come down to the running game. And that's why I think Virginia Tech has the edge. Run 200 yards average per game, and playing at home, you got to give them the edge. But this is too big of a number for me to want to get involved right now.
Right. Looking at the total, when you look at it, at first look, and like you said, last week Virginia Tech, gave up a lot of yardage, and we just got done discussing what North Carolina did against Florida State. Both teams played a game last week where the final score was in the 50s, total points, and yet we're sitting here looking at a total of 42. In 42 in college football, that's a low number. It's a situation that when you see anything, 42, 41 or less, I mean, Vegas really is expecting a low-scoring game. And then you make it a TV game where you know that the average public, if you sit down 10 people in a room that know nothing about gambling and tell them you want the over or the under,
42,
most people are going to take over because their mentality is, we're never dead. We're always still alive. They can score.
And at 42, you're going to hold your breath a lot. You know what I mean? Every time someone's in the red zone, you're going to be holding your breath for a turnover or a field goal.
With the number that I see here, I agree with you. The spread on the games just makes it tough to make a play. With the total, I would be inclined to lean to the under based on the number that Vegas is showing. I'll decide tomorrow, check weather conditions, whether or not I'm going to actually, make a play on the game or not. But to me, that looks like the play, in the game so far.
Yeah, and 4 of the last 5 in the series have gone under. Last year, they scored 37 points. I was a little surprised at how high this line came out. I mean, I know Virginia Tech, they're ranked, number 14 in the AP and in the USA Today. But last year, when they went and played at North Carolina, they were a 3.5-point dog to this team. Sure, they beat them by 3, but they were over a field goal dog. Now, all of a sudden, they're laying 17 points. That's a big turnaround in a 12-month span. I mean, how worse is North Carolina, or how better is Virginia Tech?
Well, I think the fact that everybody got to see the North Carolina game. And
that's true.
And for many people, that's the only game they've seen
them play
this year. And I mean, that was nothing like North Carolina's played this year. The first half is what North Carolina was about all year. The second half, with the meltdown on defense, I don't know what happened there, and it's a situation that that could be a red flag for this week, or they revert back to what they do best.
I went back and looked at what was the future line on this game. That when they put out in July that you could bet June, whatever, and they had Virginia Tech 7. So I mean, you're telling me there's a 10-point difference within 7 games of this season. You know what I mean? Like, one team got that bad and one team got that good in a span of 7 games. And what I don't understand is, this North Carolina team's 4-3.
Yeah.
They're not 1-5.
Right.
They're not going in where they're just terrible.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, they've lost 3 of the last 4 or whatever. The only team they beat in that span was Georgia Southern. But still, this is an ACC team. They're 4-3. They know each other well. And I just think this line's a little high.
Absolutely, you're paying for the name of Virginia Tech, and in the public seeing North Carolina, have a bad game last week. Sometimes I scratch my head with some of these games they schedule on ESPN.
Yeah, I'm sure they were expecting this to be because Virginia Tech was touted. They have a chance to win the ACC. I was even hearing before the season they have a chance to run the table.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And even looking at the line, like you said, that it was the early line was 7. That's a very competitive game.
Especially since VTech is so strong at home, you got to give them like 4 points just about for home field edge.
Right.
So going in, they only had VTech about a field goal better than this team going into the season. Now all of a sudden they're saying on a neutral field, they're 12 points better than this team. That's huge. But to be honest with you, I would not be surprised if VTech just totally shut this team down, because North Carolina can't do much offensively.
Right.
And if they're forced to have to come from behind and pass, they're in a lot of trouble, against a team who only allows 167 yards through the air. So I think that's how the odds makers approach in this, that if VTech is able to get ahead, then North Carolina is going to have trouble putting up any kind of points on them.
One other thing with the total, you always got to be concerned whenever it's involving a Virginia Tech game. You could have a quick score on special teams.
Defense, sure.
They how many times they block a punt and turn it into a 6-point play.
Absolutely.
So that's the preview for the Thursday night game. Anything you want to close on it?
No, I actually I'm still going to do some work on this game. I mean, will there bear an edge? Maybe. I might be a game I will get involved with. But to be honest with you, if this was being played tonight, I'd have to sit it out.
And which, by the way, we're taping on Wednesday for you guys watching us on video. That's it for the Thursday night preview, and we will check us out. We're going to have our regular podcast with all of our other games that we will be previewing this week, and we've got some great games. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party will be one of them, and I'm sure we'll have a few drinks watching that game.
Absolutely. Some good games this week in college.
Good games. So be sure to check our other videos this week. This has been the Sports Betting Preview, a pregame.com podcast. He's Vegas Runner. I'm Marco D'Angelo. We'll see you soon.